Danielle packed her bags, emptied our joint account down to the last $20, and left me a voice note saying, "I need a man with security, not a dreamer in steel-toe boots." Then she posted a selfie from a rooftop bar in Buckhead with another man's hand on her waist while I was still at work. She sent the same clip to my mama and my sister like she wanted witnesses. I sat on the floor in our apartment in southwest Atlanta, staring at the dent her suitcase wheels left in the carpet. Here's how it happened. My name is Paul, born and raised on the south side of Atlanta, the kind of man who learned early how to stretch a paycheck and still bring flowers home. I met Danielle at a friend's cookout in East Point. She was funny, sharp, and loud in a way that made everybody turn toward her, not away. She roasted me the first night because I burned the hot dogs trying to act cool. I told her she talked like she was getting paid by the minute. She laughed so hard she snorted lemonade through her nose, and by the end of the night, she was sitting beside me, stealing my plate. Those first months felt easy. We rode around the city in my old Honda, with one speaker working and the air conditioner taking breaks like it had a union rep. We'd get lemon pepper wings on Cascade Road and argue over whether Outkast had the best Atlanta album or if I was just sentimental. Danielle liked nice things, but back then she made it sound playful. She'd point at a condo downtown and say, "Paul, when you make it big, I want floor-to-ceiling windows and a couch nobody can sit on." I'd tell her, "I'm getting you a couch wrapped in plastic," and she'd kiss me. We got married at a small church in College Park, with folding chairs, a choir fan, and my uncle missing his cue to hand me the ring because he was outside arguing over dominoes. Danielle looked beautiful in a simple white dress and gold earrings her grandmother gave her. At the reception, my cousins danced so hard one heel snapped and my auntie tied it back on with ribbon from a centerpiece. Danielle laughed until tears ran. We weren't rich, but we were surrounded by people, music, and food, and I honestly believed love and hard work could carry us through whatever came next. At the time, I worked warehouse operations for a logistics company in Midtown. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady, and I was moving up. I took extra shifts, learned routing software, trained new hires, and kept notebooks full of process fixes nobody asked for. Danielle worked part-time in a medical office and sold lashes on the side. She started comparing us to couples online, people posing in matching outfits on beaches or standing in kitchens bigger than our whole apartment. At first it was jokes. It became comments. Then the comments became measurements, and somehow I was always coming up short. The first real crack came at her cousin Keisha's birthday dinner in Buckhead. Everybody was dressed like a magazine cover, and I came straight from work after changing in the warehouse bathroom. I thought I looked decent. Danielle looked me up and down and said, loud enough for the table, "Y'all don't mind Paul. He still dresses like rent is due." People laughed. I laughed too because what else was I supposed to do? Later in the car, I told her it bothered me. She rolled her eyes and said I was too sensitive, that I needed to stop acting like every joke was an attack. Then the layoffs hit. Our company lost a major account, and my whole team got cut with 2-week severance and a handshake. I came home with a box of my desk stuff and found Danielle filming an unboxing video. I stood there holding a stapler and a framed wedding photo while she kept smiling at her phone. When I finally told her, she paused, looked annoyed more than concerned, and said, "Okay, so what's the plan? Because I can't be carrying us." I said I had savings, I'd find work, I'd figure it out. She nodded, but I could already see her respect leaving the room. I worked wherever I could. Days I drove deliveries. Nights, I stocked shelves at a grocery store in Decatur. Weekends, I helped a friend do furniture moves. My hand stayed cracked, and my back felt like it belonged to a man twice my age. Danielle started staying out later, dressing up for networking events, and posting quotes about choosing peace and provision. When bills came, I paid what I could and slid the envelopes into stacks like maybe neatness could make numbers kinder. She stopped eating dinner with me. She'd warm up food after midnight and eat in the bedroom while I sat at the kitchen table with a calculator and a headache. The humiliation got cruel when her family joined in. Her mother, Ms. Bernice, came over one Sunday wearing church white in disapproval. She looked around our apartment like she was inspecting a motel and told Danielle, in front of me, A woman can't build a legacy with a man still trying to become one. Danielle didn't defend me. She nodded. Then Bernice asked if my mama had prepared me for leadership or just being nice. I felt my face get hot, but I kept my voice low and offered her sweet tea. She took it, sipped it, and said it was too weak. I still tried to save the marriage. I planned little things because that was what I knew how to do. One Friday, after a 14-hour day, I bought cheap candles, made spaghetti, and put on the playlist from our wedding. I even ironed the tablecloth on the floor because we didn't own an ironing board anymore. When Danielle came in, she looked at everything and laughed. "Paul, this is cute, but cute doesn't pay debt." Then she took a call in the bedroom and spent 40 minutes giggling with someone else while the noodles stuck together on the stove. I ate alone and blew out candles I'd bought for us. The night she left, I was unloading a truck at 2 a.m. My phone kept buzzing, but the supervisor didn't let us check it on the floor. When I finally got to my locker, there were 12 messages from Danielle, all short and cold. "I'm done. Don't call me. You need to heal." Then the voice note. By the time I got home, her clothes were gone, the TV was gone, and the envelope with our emergency cash was gone too. She had even taken the framed wedding picture, but left the broken framed glass on the dresser like a joke with sharp edges. The next morning was worse. My sister called crying because Danielle had sent her a screenshot of a new apartment listing in Buckhead and wrote, "Upgrades only." My mother called trying to sound calm, but her voice shook when she asked if I had eaten. Then I saw Danielle's post. She was on a rooftop with a man in a blazer, captioned, "A woman is allowed to choose stability." Her cousins commented little lock emojis and money bags. One tagged me by accident, then deleted it. I sat in my car outside the grocery store and laughed so hard I scared myself, because the other option was crying before a shift. I hit bottom slow, not dramatic. No speeches, no revelation, just a lot of tired. I slept 4 hours a night. I skipped meals to keep lights on. Some mornings I forgot where I parked because my head was full of overdue notices and old conversations. I stopped going to church because I didn't want pity. I stopped answering calls because I didn't want advice. My friend Reggie dragged me to a barbershop one Saturday and told the barber, "Make him look like he still has a future." Everybody laughed, including me. It was the first real laugh I'd had in months, and it hurt my chest. Reggie saved me in small ways. He'd show up with gas station coffee and stale donuts, then sit on my couch and roast my apartment like it was a crime scene. "Paul, why you got one fork? You hosting prison program?" He made me come outside, walk, shoot hoops, do something besides stare at bills. He also helped me update my resume, which had been sitting in old formats like it paid rent in 2014. We turned my warehouse experience into operations language, management language, numbers, results. He kept saying, "Your life ain't over." It just got rude. The job that changed things started with a rejection. I applied for an operations coordinator role at a logistics firm in Midtown and never heard back. 2 weeks later, a recruiter called saying the hiring manager saw my resume, liked my process notes, and thought I'd fit a different opening. I nearly ignored the number because I assumed it was debt collectors. At the interview, I was honest. I told them I'd been laid off, worked multiple jobs, and learned more about inefficiency from desperation than any MBA program could teach. The manager, a black woman named Ms. Holloway, smiled and said, "Good. We need people who notice waste." I got the job, and it wasn't glamorous at first. Long hours, messy systems, understaffed teams, and supervisors who acted like confusion was a personality trait. But I knew that kind of chaos. I built spreadsheets, cut loading delays, fixed vendor scheduling, and trained crews without making people feel stupid. I stayed late, took notes, listened more than I talked. Miss Holloway noticed. So did the people who actually did the work. Slowly, my life stopped being only about survival. I paid rent on time. I replaced my bald tires. I bought 2 full sets of dishes and laughed alone in my kitchen like I'd won something private. Around then, I met Nia. Not a dramatic entrance, no movie soundtrack. She worked in compliance on the floor above mine and always looked mildly annoyed at printers. The first time we talked, she caught me trying to free a paper jam and said, "You can optimize a warehouse, but this machine got you fighting for your life." I told her printers were agents of chaos. She laughed, handed me the release latch, and fixed it in 10 seconds. We started eating lunch in the break room, then walking to a food truck on Peachtree. She never asked nosy questions. She let me tell things when I was ready. Nia was funny in a quiet way that snuck up on you. She had a straight face while saying the most ridiculous things. One day we got caught in rain crossing the parking lot, and I tried to run us to my car with my jacket over her head. We were both soaked anyway. She looked at me dripping in dress shoes and said, "Paul, you move like an uncle trying not to spill potato salad." I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my keys. It felt good to laugh without defending myself. There was gentleness around her, but no pity, and that mattered more than I can explain. The romantic part came slowly because I was still carrying bruises nobody could see. Nia respected that. She'd invite me to simple things: coffee indicator, jazz at a tiny place in West End, a walk on the Beltline early before crowds. One evening she came over and saw my grown man kitchen was mostly rice, eggs, hot sauce, and one lemon. She opened my fridge and said, "So this is why you think seasoning counts as a side dish." Then she taught me how to make salmon and roasted potatoes while singing off-key. We danced barefoot in my kitchen to old R&B, and I didn't feel broken. Meanwhile, Danielle was gone, but not really gone. Every few months, a message would come from a new number. "Hope you're okay. Heard you're doing better. Can we talk?" There was never an apology, never accountability, just fishing lines. I ignored them all. Reggie called her the boomerang of bad decisions. Then one evening at a gas station in College Park, I saw her in person. She was in designer sunglasses at night, leaning against a white SUV. She smiled like she was granting me something and said, "You look healthy." I said, "I am," and kept pumping gas while she waited for me to ask questions. She asked them anyway. Was I still in the old apartment? Was I seeing anyone? Was I still at that little company? I answered almost nothing. She started talking about the man she left with, a finance guy named Marcus for Buckhead. She framed everything like she'd made a wise business move. "Marcus taught me a lot about standards," she said. Then she looked at my watch. Nothing fancy, just nicer than what I used to wear, and I saw the math in her eyes. Before she left, she said, "People grow, Paul. Don't stay bitter forever." I smiled because she still thought my pain was about wanting her back. A year after my new job, I got promoted to regional operations manager. It came with a raise, a company car allowance, and a private office with a window that looked over nothing pretty, just loading bays and trucks. I loved it anyway. Ms. Holloway handed me the offer and said, "You earned this the hard way." I celebrated quietly. Dinner with Nia, a good bottle of sparkling cider, because I had an early meeting, and a peach cobbler for my mama. No social media. No announcements. I learned after humiliation that some joy grows better in the dark, where nobody can spit on it. 3 weeks later, Danielle walked into my office building in heels and a cream coat, holding a resume. She smiled at the receptionist like she still had access to every room. I was coming off the elevator when I saw her. She did a little gasp, hand to chest, pure theater. "Paul, I had no idea you worked here." It was a lie so lazy it insulted me. She knew exactly where I worked. She asked if we could talk, right there by the security desk. I said no. She lowered her voice and hissed, "Don't be childish. I'm trying to fix things." Fixing things, in Danielle's language, meant repositioning herself. Marcus had been indicted in a fraud case, his assets frozen, his security evaporated. She told me this later, like I was supposed to sympathize with her inconvenience. She started showing up at the building for interviews, then timing coffee breaks to catch me. She sent flowers to my office with no card, then texted just a peace offering. I reported it to HR after she cornered me near the stairwell and said, "You owe me grace after everything we built." Oh, that word sat in my ears like a threat. HR took it seriously because our company had policies, cameras, and a compliance team full of people like Nia who didn't play games. I gave them screenshots, voicemails, and dates. Danielle had also applied for a contractor role through a vendor, and on the application, she listed family relocation as the reason she left Atlanta before, then denied any prior personal relationship with employees. Both were lies. When HR interviewed her, she doubled down. No remorse, no honesty, just attitude. She called me vindictive and said I was trying to block her blessings. The more she talked, the clearer the pattern looked to everybody else. Then came the court mess. Danielle filed in Cobb County trying to claim I had financially abandoned marital reconciliation and owed her support while divorce terms were finalized, even though she had left voluntarily, drained funds, and moved in with another man. It was one of those desperate filings people make when they think confidence can replace facts. I hated walking into that courthouse. My stomach was in knots, and old shame came rushing back like it had my address memorized. But my lawyer had records, bank withdrawals, lease dates, my bill payments, and messages from Danielle mocking me while asking for money in the same thread. Court days are mostly waiting, hard benches, and people pretending not to stare. Danielle came dressed like she was attending an awards brunch, all cream and gold, no grief on her face. She smirked when she saw me and whispered, "Should have just helped me quietly." Inside, she told the judge I was cold, controlling, and punishing her for seeking stability. She spoke like the whole marriage was a bad internship. Then my lawyer played the voice note. She left the night she abandoned me and submitted the social posts, the account withdrawal record, and a lease showing she moved in with Marcus before our rent was even due. The judge's face changed in that small way that means someone's performance is over. He denied her request, called the filing unsupported by the record, and entered a no-contact directive tied to the harassment documentation from work. HR had already informed her the contractor application was denied for falsification and policy concerns. There was no dramatic outburst, no movie ending, just a stack of paperwork, and a woman who finally realized charm had limits. She still didn't apologize. Not to me, not to the court, not to anybody. She just stood there stiff and furious, like consequences had insulted her personally. I walked out of the courthouse into thin Georgia sunlight, feeling lighter than I expected. Not triumphant, just free. Reggie called before I even got to the parking lot and said, "So, we celebrating or we eating wings in silence like grown men?" I told him wings. That night, Nia came over with sweet tea and a pie she claimed she bought, but clearly baked because the crust was uneven in the best way. We ate, laughed, and watched a dumb action movie. Halfway through, she took my hand and said, "You know, peace looks good on you, right?" I believed her. I still live quietly in Decatur. My place is clean, paid for, and full of little things I chose myself. Good pans, framed photos, a couch people can actually sit on. I got better at love by learning what cruelty sounds like early and what respect feels like when it arrives soft. Nia and I keep our life private and joyful. We dance in the kitchen, argue over music, and protect what we build. The moral is simple. Never confuse flashy promises for security, and never shame a good person for struggling. Character looks ordinary until the day it saves your life. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.